What's up, everyone? I wanted to make this quick video. First off, I'm going to start posting content every single Wednesday to go deeper into the layers of self-publishing, AI, mindset, my entrepreneur journey, being a founder, college dropout, digital nomad, etc. Because I want to share what I've learned along the way so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. Okay, so the most recent video that I posted on my TikTok, I'll put it right here so you can see it. It reached over 100,000 views in the last few days, which I'm so beyond grateful. It's so cool to see because I've been posting on that account for over a year and really didn't see much traction. But hey, this is exactly what I'm going to talk about right now, in terms of how I'm going to save. If you watch this whole video, I'm going to save you probably a year at least in content knowledge compounded into hopefully, under 10 minutes. Because what I did in that video is exactly what I'm going to break down here. I 95.5'd my most viral video myself right now, and that's why it's going viral without a doubt. And so I'm going to break down basically that it's 1 minute and 23 seconds, that video of the title is How to Market Your Book So Easily a 5-Year-Old Could Do It. I'm going to break down those 8 steps right here. I wrote them down so I don't mess it up. I'm going to break it down, but really go into further detail with each step because I know I got a lot of comments asking about how to actually apply them, right? And so I'll break it down and use an example because I apply it every single day with my publishing company. And it's just crazy that I wasn't really doing that with my personal brand, because I think I have no answer as to why I didn't do it sooner. That's why that account was stagnant for so long. And then when I literally 95.5 my own personal brand, because I do it all day long in my publishing company content, but when I decided to do it in my personal brand, makes sense that it's starting to blow up. So grateful for everybody who watched that video, and if you're here because of that video, welcome. This will hopefully just provide even more value. All right, so the first step I want to talk about is I wrote down each sticky note, and at the end I'll give you a summary of the sticky notes so you can see. But the first step right here, there we go. Nice. Okay, we got step number 1. Just go and create a TikTok and Instagram account. If you have one, I'm assuming you probably have one because you're on this, this video where you probably found me first on TikTok. You need to go on TikTok and Instagram. Pick one to start, all right? Let's say TikTok, right? For me personally, TikTok has always been easier for me in terms of spitballing, coming up with content, and then I repurpose on Instagram. They're different platforms completely. Like that video that has 104,000 views last time I checked, I think it has like 200 on Instagram. So, that's just how it works. But anyways, so pick TikTok or Instagram, but pick one platform right now. Eventually you're gonna need both, but for right now, pick TikTok or Instagram, okay? That's step 1. And right now we're gonna reference how to apply this 95.5 framework to books because I'm a book marketer, I'm a marketer, I'm a self-publisher. So I'm gonna tie this into books, but transparently, if you have a company, this works for any content. As I'm a living proof of doing it for my personal brand, also doing it for my publishing company. So this concept works, and that's why, I'll get into it in a bit, but that's why Tony Robbins has been preaching this for 20, 30, 40 years. Okay, so step number 2 is you need to then type in keywords. I want you to read that real quick. There we go. Step number 2 is you're going to type in keywords related to your book in the search tab on TikTok, right? Let's just use, in this example, open up TikTok. Step 2 is you're going to type in keywords related to your niche. So I've gotten some questions of, step 1 we could go over real quick because just open up TikTok or Instagram, right? But step 2 we'll go over a little bit further right now. Essentially, some people commented saying, what if I don't know what my niche is? Because I referenced there saying, type in keywords related to your niche, your industry, your genre, your book, all the same thing essentially, right? Type in keywords related to your book is the most fundamental way I could say it. If your book is about self-help, type in the word self-help. If your book is about psychology, type in the word psychology. If your book is about wealth, type in wealth. If your book is on how to play guitar, type in guitar, right? We just need to start priming our algorithm to give us enough related content for us to then do step 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. But this is so important, right? Actually, a lot of people mess up in this step because they type in the wrong word. It sounds simple, and it is, and I get it. Sometimes it can be confusing because as I talk about a lot in my TikTok, we're not really taught this as publishers or self-publishers or authors. Like, this isn't really taught a ton in terms of how to market your book. That's why I talk and preach all the time about identifying as a book as a book marketer. You need to identify as a book marketer. You have to, because that gives you all the power and actually leaves, it helps you not depend on any outside traditional publishing house. That's gonna take majority of your royalties. Okay, so anyways, you need to type in keywords related to your book. If you have any confusion on what that might be, let's say you have a really niche specific book, you can comment it down below and I get to my comments always. But in reality, your book is about something, right? If your book is about a niche world that's dystopian and it doesn't exist except in your book, well, your book is still about, let's say, fantasy, right? Like, there's always a wider genre that your book fits into. Okay, I guess the only thing that this might not apply to is memoirs, but I don't really talk about, memoirs much in terms of marketing. However, there's still probably a central theme, right? If there's a memoir, I was working with this guy who had a memoir about overcoming drug addiction. That's your theme right there. Actually, that's your niche: drug addiction, overcoming drug addiction, becoming sober. Like, you everything always has a niche attached to it. Okay, that's step 2. Here's step 3. There you go. You're gonna then scroll and find related videos to that niche, right? You're gonna scroll and find not only related videos, but viral videos. And I put here, look for anything over 100,000, but anything between 100,000 to 1 million and 1 million plus. Like, if you find a video that's done over 2 million views, it's related to your niche, that's a gold mine, right? The only point I'll say here that's important to remember is if the video is from a year ago or 2 years ago, I would keep looking, right? We want it to be as recent and relevant as possible. And there's an abundance of options always. So I prefer you find a more recent video, viral video, than one from a couple years ago. Okay, you're just increasing your chances of going viral. Step 4, you're gonna save 5 videos and put them in your notes app, right? I put 5 hooks here because that's the objective really, but you're just gonna save those 5 videos and you're gonna write out the hook in your notes app. What's a hook? It's the first thing anybody ever says in a video. There's vocal hooks, there's visual hooks, there's audio hooks, right? Well, audio and vocal are pretty similar, but even sometimes, like, if somebody doesn't need to talk and you just hear tires screeching or you hear someone laughing, that's an audio hook as well. So the hook is the first thing that anybody ever consumes in a video, and it's the most important thing. Okay, and the reason what I put on 4 and the reason why I wrote down hooks is because you're going to write out each of those 5 hooks, not only for you to train yourself on becoming a better book marketer, but for the sake of, my dog might bark, so we might have to pause the video. Just giving you a FYI. Anyways, step 5 is the reason why it's important to write down that hook is because you're going to then 95.5 that hook. Okay? And so what does 95.5 mean? I will gladly explain it. But the purpose of this, the reason why do you understand now why number 2 is so important? Because if you don't get the right keyword related to your book, your niche, you could be doing all the work for the wrong category. The chances of you doing that is very small, but that's why it's very important to follow steps 2 so all the rest fall in the right place. So you're gonna 95.5 each of your 5 saved viral videos. But all I want you really to focus on is the hook to make it simple. In other videos, we can dive into, the complexity of using, actually it's really not that complex, but I love using AI to help me with this at this point. And that's why I've created a software to do it. And I'll share that shortly and, give more information. But right now we're in beta testing. So we'll keep that for another video. But long story short, that's what I want to simplify. So simple, a 5-year-old could do it, right? 5 hooks, you're gonna write them down from those 5 viral videos, and you're gonna only change 1 word. Now, the reason why this is important and why I use the term 95.5 is because if you only change 1 word, roughly you're only changing 5% of the video, and 95% of it should stay the same. Now, why do we only change 1 thing? It's because we're keeping 95% the same and changing only 5%. some of that other 5% will come at step, I think 7 or 6, where I talking about your book and adding a video of your book. So stay with me. But this is why it's important to understand the 95-5 framework. This is what Tony Robbins talks about all the time, modeling behavior of successful people. So if you see a successful video in your niche, model that behavior. I know a lot of people sometimes talk about, isn't that copying? Isn't that just taking somebody else's idea? First of all, I disagree with that a ton. I never say 100% copy it, right? Some people do that. I'm not a huge advocate for that. But you'd be silly not to be inspired by what's already working. Think about the greatest inventions of all time. They're better versions of other things that have already been made. I'm thinking of Uber, I'm thinking of Postmates. Like, delivery existed, right, for food, but they just put it in an app. Same with taxis. Taxis existed, but Uber just made it better. So, and then, I don't know what came first, Uber or Lyft, but competitors came out to improve upon what already has been created. That's what entrepreneurship is. If you're watching this video, you're an entrepreneur. Even if you're, an author, I think there's a big identity shift that needs to be made for authors, as they need to identify as entrepreneurs and book marketers, because you really don't need to give all the power to the traditional publishing houses. I'll save that for another video. Long story short, do step 5, 95-5, that framework, okay? Let's get to 6, 7, and 8. Those will go by pretty fast. Step 6, super straightforward. Open the camera app and film. Just do it. Now you have your viral framework, right? You changed that one piece of the hook, film the video with your improved slightly hook, and that's step 6, pretty straightforward. Okay, here's step 7. This is when you're going to upload a B-roll video of your book. So what does B-roll mean? It means you're going to take your book and, this is my journal, so I'm not going to just share, all my writings, but basically some of the pages I've been written in, flip through the pages, right? So there can be a video of you showing the inside, show the nice cover, maybe show the back, the spine. It can be, anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds long. You can see some of my videos at You Will Rock Books, TikTok or Instagram, of the B-roll at the end. And then, maybe highlight some of the pages, put your finger on an important word, tap it, go through the lines. It's just to show the call to action or CTA at the end, okay? So you're gonna film that and upload that B-roll at the end of that video. So that's the other, maybe 2.5% is changing the hook, and 2.5%, I would make sure I did the math right. 2.5% is adding the B-roll of the book at the end. And we're keeping the rest the same, okay? And then step 8, you're gonna post it. This is why I said Instagram or both of the social media platforms would come back. You're gonna post it on TikTok and Instagram. I'm telling you, if you do this, first of all, this is like everything I've learned in the last 2.5 years of diving into social media marketing and TikTok book marketing, basically now becoming a book marketer, compounded in 13 minutes, probably 14 minutes. If you do this every single day, do not miss a step. Do not come up with your own, own script that you think is good off the top of your head. I'm not saying never to do that. Of course, be your creative self. But in the beginning, you need to prove that your concepts work. And if you come up with random things and they're not the best scripts and they're not, trained on proven viral scripts that you're 95-5ing, you might get discouraged. I don't want that for you, right? I don't want you to have to go through what I went through of almost 200 videos and nothing. My personal TikTok, a year's worth of content. It wasn't until over a year I decided to take my own advice and 95-5 it. And now I'm on a roll, right? And I'm just going to keep going on a roll because I know the 95-5 framework. I live by this. I do it every single day. I'm a huge fan of it. Then, of course, once you have momentum, come up with your own creative ideas as well, but never stop 95-5ing. And then 95-5 your own videos that have done well, because at that point, you're going to have your own traction. I still do the same frameworks that have worked for me for almost 2 years now with my publishing company, because they work. Why stop doing it? So, long story short, do this every day for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Commit to it, because the upside that you have is massive. I went from doing a couple $1,000s a month in book sales to doing over 7 figures last year. I'd never done over $1 million in my business in 4 years of running my other business, of being an entrepreneur, because this company is almost 3 years old, but in my 4 years of having my own companies, we never did that. And my publishing company bypassed my first company that I sold in February. But I say all this because this is going to save you so much time, money, energy. Eventually my software, I'll plug it down below, the waitlist for anybody who wants to jump on it. But Sonder is going to do this for you in terms of giving you viral videos straight to your inbox with your book at the end. It's pretty amazing. I'll get into that later on in another video. But hope this was helpful. For serious book publishers, I have a community. I'll link it down below, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.